There's nothing more awkward than going back to your old like high school photos and seeing the things that you either said, posted, talked about, or claimed. And sometimes you go back and you just delete it, like in hopes that nobody ever goes back and looks. I've done that before because what I used to say was disgusting and terrible, and I don't really understand what I was possibly thinking. But when I go back into my YouTube videos, it's kind of the same thing. So I'm AlexMartini with 2 underscores on Instagram, and today we're gonna be deep diving some of my old YouTube videos because I've been around longer than I care to admit, and I know that I look 13, but I've actually been making YouTube videos since probably 2014. Anyway, if you guys haven't yet, join the Discord. Don't forget to subscribe and pick up a hoodie if you're interested in supporting. We're gonna start off with a video that I think is always just a heater. It's always just a heater, okay? Cammed out wheels that have camber to about here that are only touching about 10% of the tire tread. It's a couple questions get raised for a lot of people. But what's the difference between stance and fitment? You know, the first thing that I just wanna say here is that this is my personal opinion.
Yep, nice disclaimer.
The group opinion of everybody else. This is just absolutely no tread on your car. And somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, you're probably gonna die. Well, you can't necessarily retract that with, yeah, but it looks cool. Well, no, it's unsafe. It's stupid. Okay, well, let's be softer. Let's be softer on that. Okay, 2016 Alex. It may be unsafe, but stance isn't inherently that dangerous if it's done in moderation. I think when you go a little excessive, watch the butthole. Okay, there are people here. That's why a lot of people get hate with the stance scene, because when it comes down to it, from the very fundamental point of view, stance is ultimately dangerous. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all a fan of Crispy, and those videos are absolutely insane, and some of the builds that these people pull off. Okay, 2016 Alex says that stance doesn't progressively push the scene forward. 2023 Alex would say any sort of aftermarket modification within a certain restriction is benefiting the culture. Okay, stance is just one subculture of that. Do I like it? I don't think it's really like, in terms of like the layers of the automotive community, I would say most people start off with like street meets, right? Like the Friday night meets. Then they progress into a little bit of modification, right? And then there's this block, and that block is the car show scene. That like third big block. That's where a lot of people stay, is in the car show scene. And that's where I think stance has the biggest heyday, because it's usually a second car. You can usually go really aggressive, you can go really wide, and because everybody's 21 years old, it's a big like fucking look at me battle. And you get this really excessive culture that I think is really awesome, and I think is badass, and I love it to death because I'm at all the shows, and I think that's where a lot of the stance people sit. But then people start getting into like the functional part of like the automotive motorsport, and then they start getting into things like autocross. And if they enjoy autocross, they'll usually jump into something else. If they don't jump into autocross, they start drifting. If they don't start drifting, they go to drag days. Then you got the split, right? Drag goes into more consistent drag, you start building drag cars. Drifting, you start doing a lot of grassroots drifting, and eventually you just stay broke for the rest of your life because that motorsport's the most expensive thing I've ever seen in your life, and it's not sponsored by anybody. Then you get into maybe autocross, where like sometimes people stay for the rest of their lives and you're like 40 years old and you're bombing around in a parking lot with cones, but sometimes it gets over into the HPD. You actually get to like the full-on track driving. But to get to these points, you have to start somewhere. And I think a lot of people start in the car show scene, and I think a lot of people in the car show scene start with a stance car. Then we have the 5 types of car enthusiasts. Let's see where this is. This was made 6 years ago too. I really like my thumbnails though. Those things were on point. You see them at every show, every meet, every time you log on to Facebook. You've all ran into them, and you've all had to deal with them. Here are the 5 kind of car enthusiasts you're gonna encounter on your lovely trip to any car show ever. I also remember filming these, and I couldn't talk too loud because the microphone would peak. So I had to constantly like whisper. If you don't fall in one of these 5 categories, I want you to leave a dislike below. But if you do fall into one of these categories, I want you to leave a like. We're gonna start off with number 1, and number 1 is the keyboard warriors. They still exist. We have always put up with them since forever. Keyboard warriors never leave their computer, I swear to God. Keyboard warriors are the worst kind of people, because with our day and age, we are always on the internet, we're always on forums or pages or Facebook or anything like that. We are consistently putting up with keyboard warriors. So the kind of people that you have to literally argue with anytime you post anything ever on the internet. You see it all the time on Facebook pages and on forums. It's just fucking terrible. Here's what I will say,
is that this whole elitist attitude is now in people's mind, even though they're not an elitist. They're just like another douchebag, another form of douchebag. You've seen it on like TikTok where like people go walk around and they'll give their like hot takes on like cars and stuff like that, and they talk about all these things that they don't like about these other people's cars because it'll get a bunch of views. And then they'll rate their own car in the video pretending it's not their car, and then they'll use that to promote their own car build. They'll be like, oh dude, that bag G90 Liberty Walk is fucking sick. And then, yeah, then they go back to talking shit on like some Mazda Speed 3, and it's like, wait a minute, that was your car. And like they fine tune it into this very specific thing. I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that, old Alex.
Anything. So let's talk about the third kind of car enthusiast. The car bros.
Track day, bro. Yo, track day, bro. Bro, going to track day? Go to track day, bro.
Now you're gonna see car bros popping up way more often now. It's becoming a huge thing to I don't know. Vape?
No, so I think the car bros, I don't think the car bros are a thing anymore. I think the car bros has gone away. If you guys remember back in the day,
cock-a-doodle-doo, hoes come through.
The car bros used to be this like collective group of people that just sat and vaped literally 24/7. They go to vape shops, they'd hang out, they'd have their cars. They never really worked that well. They kind of had some different things, but mostly the car bros were like this collective group of people that just like slammed their car in stock wheels and then hung around, smoked literally 24/7 and then did nothing else.
Just a very trendy, you know, forward thinking group of people. You see them all the time. They're walking around in bunches at car shows. They're taking pictures of the XXRs. They're taking pictures of any new trendy car instead of all the cars. I guess that can be aggravating for some people and great for others. I mean, a lot of times you hear people building Instagram cars. That stems from being a car bro. They're not that bad. They're just consistently a prevalent thing. They have all the new trendy things that are going on in the car scene.
Okay. Posers, is that a type of car enthusiast? I don't know. I don't know if a poser's still a type of car enthusiast. I don't even know what the fifth one is. Guys, I hope you have a happy all right, whatever. All right, now we're gonna talk about So You Want a Mazda Miata. This video is the original So You Want a Mazda Miata. And this video was made on January 12th of 2017. I got the facts, baby. This is the OG So You Want a Mazda Miata. And this was my first attempt to be funny. We're not doing that. You can't do that anymore, Alex. Holy shit. Christ. Oh my God.
So you want to own a Mazda Miata. Do you like small cars? Do you like the passion to argue with every other convertible owner? Do you like the wind in your hair? Then this car is for you. The Mazda Miata is a two-door coupe roadster that has been produced since 1989. We're not going to talk about the new ones because that. The old ones are the only ones that matter. Coming in a minty fresh 1.6 or 1.8 liter four-cylinder.
I'm reading a lot from a Google Doc, it looks like.
Models. It was really anything but fast. I mean, they weren't bad, but they don't compare much in today's day and age. But these days, there's two ways cars are built. This or this. This or this. Kidding. Seriously. That's a car for a different time. The 2.0 liter wasn't introduced until... Oh, we're not fucking talking about it.
So this was back when I was trying to figure out, like, what theme did I want to make my content. I'd been watching a lot of regular car reviews. I love the way that he talked about content, his knack for analogies, his really oddly raw and sometimes over the top like descriptors of how a car behaved. And I wanted to try and find a way to do that to a younger audience. This is a good video. I could probably just make this public and let the internet do its thing. But goddamn, I look like a child. I don't know what it is with the angle or what.
Let's be clear. They aren't exactly the prettiest. Now, I'm not talking about the fender flared,
I called them ugly?
overly aggressive, hardtop, splitter ass looking Miata. I mean just the Miata in itself. It's so soft. Miatas were never meant to be put in comparison to what a lot of people put it into nowadays. I mean, the S2000 and all the newer sort of cars, they seem to get compared to, and that's not the case at all. In fact, when the Miatas were first made, the only real roadster comparison back then was the Alfa Romeo Spider, and that was in terms of volume. I even owned an ND once. It was fun.
Hey, this is my car again. God, I love that car. I baha'd that thing around everywhere. That's Sam Butler in the background. Me and Sam don't talk anymore, but he's still a good dude. Look at that! Cruising around the old back roads of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Don't do that.
Every
It's
potential
dangerous.
enthusiast should try to own at least once. It's a test to see if you really enjoy driving a car or if you just enjoy the attention of owning a car. Because if you fall in love with the Miata, I
that's
think
a
you're
hot
going
take,
down the right
Alex.
path.
So I don't know if
don't
you guys
own
caught
them
it because
for
I
the
was busy
power or
fucking
the
talking.
looks.
But
Although you can make them fast and sharp, you own them because they're insanely fun. They're cheap. They slide under the radar. You get all the good attention without any of the bad.
that is so true. If you can make it through the Mazda Miata phase of the car community, you can make it in the car community. I would consider your first Mazda Miata kind of like a 7-day free trial into the car community. It gives you a chance to see what it's all about. You're not gonna get much hate for having a Mazda Miata. You're not gonna get much praise for having a Mazda Miata, but people will accept you into literally any culture or subculture if you have a Mazda Miata. Now, the first one you buy does not automatically mean that like you're in with the throat Makama style handshake here, okay? You get the free trial, okay? You get the Sprout Social free days, okay? But then, if you can get past your first Miata and you can buy a second Miata, or you start really getting into driving your Miata, then I would say you've passed the gates, okay? You and Peter are homies, except you're not dead. You have officially made it into being in the car scene. The Mazda Miata is a great gateway drug of a car.
Mazda Miata has set themselves up in the perfect spot for the community that we know and love today. In fact, each city seems to have some sort of Mazda Miata.
So this video was actually filmed at the season opener, WCC Oconomowoc. It's an event that I host with WCC, which is a team that's just awesome that we started back in 2012. And the Wisconsin Miata Club came, and there's like 30 of them. Ooh, I rated the interior 6.
Fancy about it, although it was never meant to be fancy.
The Nardi interior on a Miata,
plastic pieces break a lot.
game changing.
It's just not the prettiest looking interior. The seats rip very easily. If you get the Nardi package though, I'd rate that about an 8 out of 10.
Nice job.
8.5 out of 10. And I'm just basing that on the stock motor 1.618 on the NA or NB variant.
I just wouldn't listen to me because I'm wearing a polo on a YouTube video. I don't trust myself. Also, you see the fake wood in the back? I wouldn't trust somebody with that as a background. What am I, a photographer?
So my overall rating is a 7.3.
I rated it a 7.3. NA Miata is a 7.3. That's a wild rating, Alex. Yeah, so you want a Mazda Miata, baby. And then, ooh, let's do Breaking My Datsun. That looks fun. You guys have never really seen my Datsun.
For real, no hate. How stupid do I look right now?
So I didn't really understand how to vlog. I still don't have any idea how to vlog, in complete honesty. But I was trying to figure out how to show people my Datsun. There it is! Oh my God, that garage, oh, look at all that trash. Those trash bags I accidentally took from 2014 car show park and never gave them back. And I used those trash bags for like 6 years. It was like a big thing, like 500 of them. And it just ended up in my WCC stuff. That's not theft, that's a mistake. Ooh, a little propane heater. Winter gloves.
God damn it. See that right there? That's what we're working on today. So let's do.
Okay, so when I had the Datsun, this thing was a giant pain in my ass, mostly because I had never worked on a car before in my entire life. This car was really the first real grab at doing it all, either kind of myself or leaning on friends that could help me figure it out. And over time, I kind of had to use different people for certain things, like different shops to help me kind of put the thing to the finish line. Now, here's what I came back with. My rear end on this Datsun, the R200 diff is a tank. If you get a Datsun, get an R200 diff. But the half shafts were the biggest fucking pain in the ass ever. They constantly ripped, they constantly tore, they weren't very good, and then they actually would get loose over time, and you'd hear it when you would go to like launch the car, and I never figured out really how to fix it. Well, the real way to fix it is to upgrade it. You can actually do a whole 5-hub rear end from a 300ZX, but I figured in a day I could easily figure out a gas leak, half shaft issues, unbox my new wheels, and also put a heater right next to a gas leak.
May 29th of 2015, so it was a year and a half ago. You guys are gonna have to let me know if It has to be.
I had, oh no, look at that. Look at the extensions. Oh my God, so I still don't have any tools. I have some tools. I do what I can with what I've got, but like I'm praying a tool sponsor comes along sometimes and like pity sponsors me, because the tools that you see right here with like the 17 extensions, that is still what I use to get around all of my cars. And everybody judges the crap out of me for it. Look at that engine bay. Look at that AMG. In case you guys are wondering, the Datsun, when I bought it, was $7,500, and I never took a loan out on it. The AMG was the result of flipping cars back when I was in college, because I never wanted to have a loan on a car. So the AMG I bought for $22,000 at the time. This was in 2015. This thing was gnarly. None of my cars sound like that. Oh, it looks so good. The color is so good. I learned nothing in this video. I learned nothing in this video besides cars were cheap and I didn't know how to work on cars. And nowadays cars are expensive and I still barely know how to work on cars. So there is that. And then finally, let's do, Scott's Turbocharged Slingshot, my first viral video. This video had 124,000 views. It's 2 minutes long. It got copyrighted into oblivion because of the music choice. But I remember I was friends with Scott Riley. He owns a power sports shop called Sport Rider in Altoona. And he built a turbocharged Slingshot, which when these things came out, everyone was talking about him. His had a wing on it. It was turboed. It was super freaking cool. And then I went out there and I did like a video montage on it, and it did really well. I learned how to like color, like sketch out things in Sony Vegas 8 and then layer it on top of videos. So the entire video is just me doing that on literally every single scene. There's no color correction because I didn't know how to color correct, but this thing was wild. And Scott was really fun with this thing. He built a couple different ones. There was one that went to SEMA, I believe it was either 2017 or 2018, but these things were always wild. Like Scott did an insane job with these builds. Now, I don't know if they're even that popular anymore. I don't see a lot of them anymore like I used to, but these were super neat. And I remember he took this thing out. This is also one of the first videos I ever had a guy named Lars Vogler. If you guys met Lars on the channel, he drives the M2 competition. Before anything else, I met Lars through asking him if he could come up and help me film this video, as well as play some League with me later that night, to which he responded yes to both, and now we're best friends. You never know what happens when you go on the internet. And then I remember this video. He did a burnout. Gnarly, right? Video goes viral. The local news station called me and got mad at me for doing that because they had received complaints and they were gonna do an article on it, like a video on it, about inappropriate and dangerous driving because of that clip, because it was in Altoona, Wisconsin. I just didn't respond. Well, those are some cringe videos. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will not ever be going back through those ever again. Make sure to subscribe. Of course, check out the old Discord if you haven't yet. And thank you so much for going through this path, this journey with me, because we'll never be doing it again.